Hello out there. We're on the air. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. It is a beautiful, beautiful Wednesday here today. Holy cow. We had a couple stretch there, probably 3 or 4 days of rain. Not rain, but cloudy, dreary, sprinkles. And now we got some sunshine today. You don't really appreciate the sunshine until she leaves for a little while. So we're back. Welcome to another edition. I don't know what number this is. Probably episode 100 and some of the Daily Bitcoin Journey. Chat's sure quiet today. Elvio, our favorite bird, is in the house. Good morning, Elvio. Good to see you. Let's check over on the Zap stream chat. And we're rolling there, which is good. Had some issues the other day with, it says it's offline. Interesting. It's not ideal. Just about to say we had some issues with it the other day, but why does it say we're offline? Zap.stream. Unless it's just offline on mine, but I don't know. It says it's live, but then it also says that it's offline. I don't know. Kind of annoying. I've been trying to put a lot of attention and focus on Zap.stream. And yesterday the chat in Zap.stream was buzzing. So I don't know what the heck's going on. We're also doing a show after today on Zap.stream, exclusively a golf show. But hopefully it starts working. It's kind of annoying. And I hate that I have to troubleshoot this live on the air. But anyways, I guess we'll carry on as we were. There are some faces in the house. There we go. Adam, good morning. What the heck is going on? Why did that end? Okay, let's try this. Let's take Zap stream off, remove. Let's try it again. Oh yeah, let's see if that worked. My apologies, folks. It didn't. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, let me open this up. Still says we're offline. I got sats in there. Stream info. Okay, let's try this. See what happens. I don't know. That's unfortunate. That's very unfortunate. It says it's been streaming for 30 seconds now. Maybe it'll just go off again. I don't know. Okay, let's carry on without Zap.stream. That's too bad. That's one of my top 10 coolest things in Bitcoin today. Fuck. Can anybody else try the Zap.stream and see if it's working for you? It says it's offline for me. Just go to bitcoinjourney.ca/stream or just go to Zap.stream and see what happens. It says it's offline. It says there's 0 viewers in there. It's unfortunate. Anyways, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Daily Bitcoin Journey. This show focuses on actionable and logical discussion for Bitcoiners and for future Bitcoiners. Nice to see everybody in the chat this morning. Adrian, AD, Crypto Heathen, Rick Costa. It looks like Crypto Heathen and Letha are over here, which suggests to me that it's offline. Fuck, that's annoying. I'm going to remove it and then just see. We'll come back to that in a sec. Okay, that's too bad. Letha, good morning. Good morning. Tornado season in full swing here in the Midwest, says Crypto Heathen. That's too bad. I'm not too jealous of that. I mean, we get some pretty cold temps here, but we don't have a whole lot of tornadoes. 15.12 here in Italy. Hey, Alvio, I'm going to be in Italy in just over a month from today. Let me know if you have any suggestions for me to check out while I'm in Italy. Rock and roll, there we go. He's back. Satoshi invented money. Amen to that. Amen to that. Okay, well, we're going to carry on without Zap.stream. That's unfortunate. But we will be back there later today. Let's try this one more time. Okay, so let's start with some metrics today. Seems like for the last, we do metrics every day on the show. It seems like for the last month or so, we've kind of been saying the exact same numbers over and over again, but it's still important. The fees are the main thing, I think, for a lot of people, and it's nice to see. Just get a daily check-in with that, I think, just to see what's going on the Bitcoin network. So here we go. It is May the 8th. It is a beautiful, beautiful day today here. We're currently sitting at block height 842.553. If you're transacting on the Bitcoin Layer 1 network, you're paying about 19 sats per VByte. Pretty good. It's the first time we've seen in the teens for a while. 19 sats per VByte. After our colossal fees after the halving. The price today, a little bit of a dip, 62,238. 1 year ago today, you could have purchased a Bitcoin for $27,629. And 4 years ago, how about this? $9,846. Moscow time. I don't know what this 51 is doing over here. I think I did a calculation yesterday. Am I alone here? Or do people still have like calculators around their desk? I worked as an accountant for just about 10 years, and I had one of those old school calculators with the little roll in it. You can manually type things in, prints out on paper. I don't know if people are still using those or not, but I pretty much just use Excel for anything that I want to calculate. And I guess just for me going through that world for so long, Excel spreadsheets are kind of like my bread and butter. I'm not an expert at them, but I just use them for everything. And it's weird talking to other people who went through a different route in their life and didn't go through the accounting stream. I just kind of take for granted how good spreadsheets are, but it seems like not a whole lot of people use them in their day-to-day lives. So there you go. Daddy-O's got one on his desk right now. Interesting. The Moscow time today. I just like Excel because you can do a whole bunch of different things. You can add up cells. You can see it all right in front of you instead of having to go back and forth and re-enter numbers into a calculator. Excel, you can just see the bigger picture of it. So Moscow time today, 1609, which means $1 will get you 1,609 Satoshis. Here in Canada, the price today is 85,410 Canadian dollars. And the Moose Jaw time, which is the equivalent of, where am I here? Wall of Satoshi, equivalent of Moscow time here in Canada. And what's the Moose Jaw time today? Let me see. You guys would not believe what's happening on my phone right now. 1171. I have a lot of photos. I have a lot of videos and a lot of stuff on this phone. I've really cut back on the golf videos that I have. I mean, we have a golf company, so a lot of our stuff is like golf pictures, golf videos. And now we got a new puppy, so I got a lot of Arnie videos, Arnie pictures. And this is what my screen looks like right now. I don't know if you can see it or not. There's supposed to be icons there, but they're all hidden because it doesn't have enough memory to load them. Oh my God. So there you go. That's what I'm dealing with. And every time I try to clear it, it's just like my phone is waiting for me to clear space, and then it jams it up with a whole bunch of other shit. Very frustrating. And I know most people would probably say, well, just get more space on your phone. Then I'll just fill it up. If I have space to fill, I'm going to fill it. So I just need to be a little bit more proactive in terms of clearing stuff off my phone. Anyways, Daddy-O, what's up? What is up with Zap.stream? That's the real question today. Are we live there? No, we're not. We've tried 3 times. Fuck, that's annoying. Maybe I'll get in touch with Kieran somehow and see what I can do, because this thing was running so well for, you guys can attest to this. Zap.stream was running so well for the month or two that I've been using it every day. And it's pretty unfortunate that anyways, I need to move on. I need to move on past it. I'm just worried about the secondary show here after this, but we'll worry about that when we get there. Okay, so that's the metrics for today. Let's get to some news because I got a good list here for you today. List of news and a list of, as you can tell by the title here, top 10 coolest things in Bitcoin. The last couple of days here on the show have been pretty serious. We talked about, getting control of your Bitcoin, taking it into self-custody so that nobody can take it from you. Some more heavier topics, just more of a macro outlook and kind of fearful, honestly, for Bitcoiners. It seems like that's been the environment around Bitcoin for the last little while. And yesterday we were talking about the Ohio students that were booing Bitcoin and how, my message to them, pretty serious stuff, not overly like exciting. And so I wanted to just have like a nice, fun show today, talking about all the good things that are happening in Bitcoin right now. So I got a list of 10 things we're going to run through in a bit. Top 10 coolest things in Bitcoin, because it is so much more than just a money. And I'm sure that, you wouldn't be here probably today if you just thought that Bitcoin was money, because that's pretty boring. So anyways, Sachi, good morning from Seven Sisters, my pal from Manitoba. Daddy-O says, ironically, there's 8 spots behind the decimal on his calculator. Well, there's a reason why there's so many decimal places in Bitcoin as well, because when everybody else shows up, we're going to need those decimal points. Okay, let's kick off the show. I got a couple videos. I got a couple news things to share. We got too much running on this computer here. Okay, let's start with this one. This one's kind of cool. This is something we've been talking about quite a bit on the show. Oh, that's not what I want. Share this tab instead. There we go. So this is from Bitcoin News. This segment of the show every morning that we do talking about everything going on in Bitcoin is sponsored by Bitcoin News. And usually I direct you into a Bitcoin News Twitter feed to see what they got going on for live shows this week. But the one that they have this week is not something that I'm into. So that's just how I am. I'm not going to talk about something that I have no interest in. But at the same time, Bitcoin News, I forget what it is. It's something about futures, trading futures in Bitcoin. So I'm not interested in it. Maybe you are, but that's just kind of how I am. I don't really talk about things unless I can get behind them. So Bitcoin News, though, big shout out to them for sponsoring the show, sponsoring such a small channel like this one, and really just getting news out there that we don't really need to rely on from the CNBCs, the Fox News. This is Bitcoin specific. I really love how they share their information. They're very visual, and I think that if you're somebody has a business or somebody who's putting content out there, take a page out of Bitcoin News's playbook here and make sure that you have either a picture or a video in every post that you make. Because the majority of people in the world that we're living in now are very visual. Nobody has time, or nobody wants to take the time to read a whole bunch. They want to see pictures, they want to see videos or audio. And I just feel like Bitcoin News does a very good job of that. So shout out to Bitcoin News for sponsoring this segment. This is Genesis to launch a new Bitcoin mining center in Argentina using flared gas. So I don't know how long most of you have been watching the show here. Like I said, we're about 100 shows into this live. But before that, I was doing like kind of weekly videos. They weren't very good. I mean, they just never got any traction. They had good ideas and good thoughts and stuff in there, but they never got any traction because I was doing them weekly and they're kind of sporadic. But I've been talking about this for quite a while on this channel. And so this Genesis, with a total capacity of 7 megawatts, the data center will utilize electricity generated from stranded gas, effectively converting gas that would otherwise be flared into electricity to power the Bitcoin mine. So that's pretty badass, in my opinion. And I've been talking about it here in the prairies because we have so many oil wells. If you drive through Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, especially at night, you'll see them burning off the methane gas, flared gas. So that's either, especially here in Canada, the companies are being taxed on that for carbon tax. So it's either going into the environment and they're paying tax on it, or they're having to pay to burn it off, the methane. And so with the new technology and the new ability that we have, instead of that just being wasted or actually costing companies money, they're able to convert that into electricity that powers a Bitcoin mine. And if you think that this is going to be the last company to do this, every oil company, every company in these industries, these energy focused industries, whenever they have wasted or unused energy, they're going to be putting that into Bitcoin mining. So this is just kind of the start of it. And I think we're going to see much more of this into the future. But I'm going to share another video here. So let's stop sharing this for a sec. Let's take this down. And this one's just really cool. And it kind of ties into the mining Bitcoin thing. So let's take a look at this. It won't have any sound, but you don't really need sound for it. So this is somebody who's mining Bitcoin in the back of their Tesla. Here we go. So we should have maybe put that on the full or on the audio there. I think you might have been able to hear it from my microphone, but you couldn't hear a thing with the door shut there. But that's not really the point here, because I think that's kind of silly, unnecessary. But I mean, it's an electric vehicle. They charge it. They use that power to mine Bitcoin from the back of the Tesla. Pretty cool. But, I don't think it's very sustainable to do that. I feel like the power would run out pretty quickly in the Tesla there. But the point that I wanted to make here is that this is going to be something that we see in the future, not with the current electric cars that we're seeing right now. I think that at some point in the future, I have no idea what the timeline would be on it, but we're going to unlock a shitload of energy. And I think it's going to be nuclear. And I think that that's what's going to be powering cars and all of our equipment that we use now. It's not going to be the traditional lithium batteries. It's just, there's no way that it's sustainable. It's been pushed on down our throats by the overlords for the last couple of years, but it doesn't seem like many people are buying into it. People are still, obviously, the majority of people are using gas engines for their vehicles. But I do think that there's gonna come a day where we use nuclear energy to power cars, and it's gonna have the same technology as all this, and you're gonna be able to mine Bitcoin in the back of it. But anyways, pretty cool. More than anything else, just kind of cool. Dan says he uses Open Office Calculator. It's a free spreadsheet software. Interesting. Daddy-O says the younger generation uses Google versus Excel, and I'm guilty of that too. I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing, but I've really switched all of my Excel sheets to be on Google spreadsheets instead. Just because they're so accessible and you don't have to save them and worry about where they are. But anyways, let's switch to something else here. How do I get out of here? There we go. Okay. What do we got next here? This was an interesting one, and I don't really need sound for this one either. But this is from Bitcoin News as well. Sound like somebody's farting. Okay, let's bring this up here. So this is the 200-day moving average, sets a new all-time high of $50,000. And this is important because a couple years ago, I think it was whenever the all-time high was $69,000. it didn't stay that point for very long. We hit that point and then we crashed down fairly quickly. So this is a 200-day moving average of Bitcoin, and we've hit a new all-time high in this. I think that this is much more important of a metric to be using compared to the price, the daily price. And the reason I say that is because if you look at Bitcoin now, and the reason why this moving average is so much higher than it was in the past is because of the ETFs. And the ETFs are just kind of like the first drop in the bucket here. But with the ETFs, it's created such a strong floor for Bitcoin. So in the past, the price would run up. Everybody was trying to get in on it. But then when it started going down, everybody started selling it because there wasn't these ETFs, these companies, or even the conviction, I think, from Bitcoiners that we have today. It didn't exist before. And so now, if you have Bitcoin and you want to sell that Bitcoin, there's always going to be a buyer for it. And that's going to create, sometime this year, I think it's going to happen. But it's going to create such a dynamic in terms of a supply crunch for Bitcoin. Because it's a scarce asset with a fixed supply. And we've never had anything like that before. So as more and more of these countries and these companies keep buying Bitcoin and holding on to that Bitcoin, we're going to run out. The supply is going down from the halving that just happened. The new supply coming into the market went down. And with all these institutions and big companies who are getting into Bitcoin, this floor is rock solid. And this 200-day moving average, I don't expect it to ever dip from that, honestly. There's just way too much demand right now. And like I said, we're just at the very beginning of this. We're 3 months into these ETFs, and these companies are buying it, and they're never going to sell it. So that's what I wanted to share in terms of the moving average and kind of like the outlook on Bitcoin right now. We see the price go up, we see the price go down day to day. It seems like it's kind of been flatlining, but this moving average, 200-day moving average, is a very important metric, I think, that we should be paying attention to, and it's very positive news in that front. What else we got here? Kev says, is accounting much different in Bitcoin than it would be for fiat accounts? Well, I think it's going to be much easier in the future, mostly because it's so transparent. But right now, it seems like the companies that are accepting Bitcoin for payment and accounting for Bitcoin, they're basically just, if you accept Bitcoin, let's say it's 100,000 sats, what you would record there is you would record the dollar value in whatever country you're in. So Canadian dollars, that'd be about $100, let's say. So that's what you would record for 100,000 sats payment received. You'd simply just convert it to your currency, and that's how you would account for it. But there's going to be more and more options, more and more innovation within that world. We're still so early at this stuff. Stunt Chicken, my favorite name in the chat all the time. Don't see him much in here, but he's here this morning, or she is here this morning. I'm not sure. Stunt Chicken, if you care to share, let us know where that name came from. Okay, so this is a big one. This is a big piece of news here. Yesterday, we talked about the two companies. I forget what one was. State Bank? No. Daddy would know this. State something. Anyways, it was a bank in Florida area that started buying Bitcoin. Their filing showed that they were holding Bitcoin. And there was another one too. I forget the name of it, but they were holding $68 million worth of Bitcoin. But check this one out. Susquehanna International Group reports holding 1.2 billion. 1.2 billion in Bitcoin ETFs across 10 different issuers. This makes them the largest known holder of Bitcoin ETFs. Wow. That's just so wild to me. 1.2 billion worth of Bitcoin and what happened here? World Donkey Day showed up on my computer. Where was I going with that? $1.2 billion worth of Bitcoin. And you have to keep in mind here that the ETFs have only been around for 3 months? And the fact that this group here, this international group, has accumulated 1.2 billion in Bitcoin ETFs, that's pretty crazy to me. And it's the same thing for them. That 1.2 billion is never going to go down. It's going to keep going up and up. And we're going to find more international groups like Susquehanna. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it or not, but this is just the start of it. This is just the very beginning of it. So State, yes. Thank you, Daddy-O. So it looks like it's a public access TV show. Interesting. I wish we were on Zap.stream so you could share the link to that so we could check it out. So that's pretty big news, I would say, in Bitcoin. And it seems like the first quarter is done of 2024. And we're finally seeing now how many companies and how many holdings there are within Bitcoin. Because these companies are not just going to send out a tweet saying, hey, we own Bitcoin now. You got to wait for their public filings to come out, and then you can see how much Bitcoin they've been accumulating behind the scenes. Obviously not behind the backs of their board of directors and shareholders, but behind the backs of everybody else. So this next one here, this is another interesting thing, I think, that is pretty relevant. So this is the Bitcoin miner position, the MPI, which tracks miner selling behavior, has taken a nosedive since its highs in January. This suggests a significant shift. Miners are likely holding onto their Bitcoin or even accumulating more instead of offloading large amounts. So you can see the graph there showing that we're pretty much at it says all-time low pretty much of miners selling their Bitcoin off. And what that means to me, what that suggests to me is that we just went through the halving, and these miners are making half of what they were before. I mean, miners make all their revenues are in Bitcoin. That's how they earn revenue. Everything's in Bitcoin. And at the halving, their revenues got cut in half, right? So all their costs, all their electricity costs to power these Bitcoin mines stayed the same or went up, while their revenues got cut in half essentially. And so what this suggests to me is it's going to create a very interesting dynamic here, because they're holding on to their Bitcoin instead of selling it, which suggests to me that they think that the price is very low compared to what it should be. If they were selling it, that would suggest that they were getting a fair price for their Bitcoin. So this is going to go two ways, I think, for these Bitcoin miners with kind of where we are right now. So it seems like they're waiting for the price to go up to sell their Bitcoin to increase their fiat cash, their fiat position, in order to pay off their bills, obviously, and to make profit. So they're either going to wait and wait and wait for the price to go up, and the price will eventually go up, you'd think, or they're going to turn off. They're going to shut down. And that's kind of the two avenues they have right now. They're, like I said, they're either going to wait for the price to go up, then who knows how long they could be waiting for that to happen, or they're going to start shutting down their miners because they're not going to have enough cash to pay for their electricity bills. So very interesting. I think in the next couple months, I don't know how long that they can sustain that, holding on to their Bitcoin instead of selling it to pay off their bills. I'm guessing a lot of them have like a short-term line of credit, or they have some financing agreements with bigger companies. So that's kind of what we're seeing right now. And I listened to a podcast last week from TFTC, and they were talking about the centralization of miners and how it's a problem right now. And the reason it's a problem is because of the payout within the Bitcoin mining. And so the fixed mining pools, they're the ones who send payments regardless of how much Bitcoin they actually won in the block rewards. So if you hook up to a pool and you hook up to a fixed pool, you're going to get the same amount of payout regardless of how much Bitcoin were actually mined. And in order for a mining company to be able to facilitate that, they have to have a lot of Bitcoin on reserve. And so they've been basically relying on the huge companies, I think it's Antpool, to provide them with that liquidity to pay out the miners within their pools. And so that's created a centralized dynamic within Bitcoin. And so I think we're going to start seeing the same thing. As the longer that these Bitcoin miners hold on to the Bitcoin versus selling it, the harder they're going to be looking. They're going to be seeking out sources of financing. And so essentially what I'm saying is if the price doesn't go up soon, the Bitcoin mining industry is going to be in for some trouble. But at the same time, this is how the Bitcoin mining industry works, is if companies run into trouble, they power off, the hash rate of the network goes down, and the difficulty goes down. And so it's much more accessible for the mining companies who are able to withstand that. They have an easier path to getting Bitcoin, right? Because there's less competition within the mining industry. As more and more power down, the difficulty adjustment goes down, and it's easier for the miners who got through that to earn Bitcoin. So very, very interesting there. Yes, and I fully agree with this comment here. And I'm not going to try to pronounce that. Anon, no, we'll call you Anon. Anon. There will come a time where money does not matter anymore. Once we have free energy. And so I agree with that. I fully agree with that. And if you think far enough ahead and what that's going to look like there, what would it look like if money didn't matter? I don't know how far away from that we are, and really depends on, I think, the next 10 years of which way people decide to go and where people decide to give their attention to and their time. But if we end up down that road of free energy and once energy's free, just think about that. If you had free energy, if we had a way to produce free energy, whether that's nuclear or something very small and compact that produces a shitload of energy that essentially makes energy free, and then you start hooking that up to Bitcoin miners, and all of a sudden the Bitcoin becomes free, then what happens? Well, you'd basically have a dynamic of every person on earth mining Bitcoin. So the hash power would be insane. The Bitcoin network would be incredibly secure and robust. And at the same time, you would have, what would that look like? You'd have free energy. The difficulty would go up. So everybody would be mining Bitcoin, but the Bitcoin payouts would be so small into the future. It seems like so crazy that, in 20 years from now, the amount of Bitcoin mined is going to drop significantly. There's probably going to be 100 times more people mining Bitcoin. So the difficulty adjustment is going to be way up. The payouts are going to be much lower. And I think the main takeaway from that, because getting from where we are today in a very centralized, energy controlled world to an abundant, free energy, free everything world, if you're holding Bitcoin right now, everybody is undervaluing their Bitcoin right now. If you just think through that whole dynamic there and how this whole thing is going to play out with energy, with mining, with the difficulty, with the abundance that we're going to unlock here within Bitcoin, any amount of Bitcoin right now is going to be worth a ton in the future. Even 100 sats. 100 sats, because we're going to move from Bitcoin to sats to microsats to whatever. Because think about how many people would be using Bitcoin and how much Bitcoin, how many people would be mining Bitcoin at that point, and how scarce those sats would be when we get there. We got a long ways to go, but what I'm saying is don't undervalue your Bitcoin. Make sure that whatever Bitcoin you have, you're protecting it, and whatever Bitcoin you're spending, you're replenishing it. That's what I would say on that. Oh yeah, what do we got next here? So I'm not going to bring this up. This isn't really too meaningful because it's a hypothetical, but this is from Bitcoin News. Says Hong Kong Bitcoin ETFs might become available to Chinese investors. Richard Byworth, managing partner at CIS Capital. There is talk that the ETF could be added to Stock Connect. The implications for this are absolutely enormous. Basically means that mainland money can now buy it. So they're talking about it. Right now, it seems like the Hong Kong ETFs are not available to the mainland, and I'm not overly familiar with China and how everything works there, so I'm not going to pretend to be. But that seems like, as it says here, an enormous deal. If mainland China has access to the Hong Kong ETFs, think about the amount of people who are going to be in the market for Bitcoin. And the last one here, this is a cool one. So a couple weeks ago, I showed a video of a Bitcoin ATM, a company that I'm actually invested in. They had out of El Salvador, they have a company, I think it's K1 mining. So they have Bitcoin miners across El Salvador coming into these countries as well. But you could put cash into an ATM and it actually had Lightning on it. And you could scan a QR code on your phone and they would send the sats to your wallet from K1 mining. So I haven't seen any of those in Canada yet, but this one is here in Canada. So I want to show this. So this says Canada's first Lightning-enabled Bitcoin ATM opens in Vancouver. So let's check this out.
Here in Vancouver at the Time Out Cafe. Hey, my name is Mike here in Vancouver at the Time Out Cafe. I have an exciting announcement to make. We have the first Lightning-enabled ATM available in Canada. We're really looking forward to launching this. We think it's going to make cash and Bitcoin transactions in person a lot faster, a lot easier, and a lot quicker. So I'm going to let Lito come into the frame and demonstrate how it's going to work.
Hey, I'm Leo. I'm going to buy $5 worth of Bitcoin. This is something you cannot easily do with on-chain transactions. You need Lightning payments for this. You need Lightning payments to keep the payments actually fast and cheap. You're going to be amazed how easy this is. We only have to confirm that we are not, that we have a wallet, that we are sending this money to ourselves. We get a very competitive rate, which is only made possible with if we don't have to make on-chain transactions. I can put my $5 note into this machine. I immediately see how many Bitcoin I will receive over the Lightning Network to buy Bitcoin. I get to see this QR code. This is an LN URL, and this allows me to very smoothly take the Bitcoin out of this machine by simply scanning the QR code, confirming the rate. Is this really how much I want to receive? Sending the invoice, and then waiting for a few seconds to receive the payment. Super smooth.
Super smooth. So think about that, because one of the things that we focus on as Bitcoiners is finding ways to buy non-KYC sats. And I'm not sure what the process was there in terms of him setting up an account to do it, or if he could just throw in some cash there. I would guess that he probably had to either enter an email address in or a phone number, something along those lines to access the ATM. But at the same time, if you think about that, if you understand kind of what's happening in Bitcoin here, if you had a Lightning transaction sent to your phone, and then you sent it to, let's say, a Fedimint, and you kind of washed it through there. So let's say you bought 20,000 sats. And kind of going back to how valuable sats are in reality, we live in a world where we see the price of Bitcoin in terms of fiat, which is a completely illusionary, made up fiction metric to be using, because we have no idea how many US dollars out there. And unless you have something that you can, a fixed peg that you can tie something to value it against, we're really just guessing here. And so, you know, a theme around the show is living in the future. And that's what we're focused on, is living in the future. And so even if you can get, let's say, $10 for 10,000 sats, and you send that to your Lightning wallet, you send it through a Fedimint, and you send it either back to your Lightning wallet or you're leaving it in the eCash Fedimint, they're very private. And so if you just do this, instead of trying to spend $10,000 or $20,000 and get that much Bitcoin, just start with stuff like this and figure out a way to make a plan where you're doing stuff like this. These are going to become more and more popular throughout every country we're living in here. But you start trading your cash in for that, for sats, and you get 10,000, then you get 20,000 the next time. And all of a sudden you start building up this balance of literally no KYC Bitcoin that's been flushed through with basically zero fees on there. And then you eventually, when that balance builds up, you send it to your cold storage wallet. And all of a sudden you have this no KYC Bitcoin. So super accessible. I think that people will, if they got $5 or $10 in their pocket, they might just try it out. It might create some new Bitcoiners, but I think that it'll also give Bitcoiners who are here already and understand this a really good, easy way to buy Bitcoin and turn it into non-KYC Bitcoin. So there you go. I thought that was very, very cool. Daddio says, that's why I religiously pick up my free fold in lollysats every day. Yep. I think if you're not taking advantage of things like fold, lolly, fountain, you're just missing out. I mean, people see that people are still so focused on the dollar amount that's associated with it that they're like, well, it's not worth my time. It's only 10 cents worth of Bitcoin. No, it's not. It's not. That's what it's worth in the illusionary fiat world that we're moving out of. Kev says free energy would be mayhem. Mayhem in a good way, I think. The hash rate would explode when that happens. And I think that we'll probably get to a point even before energy becomes free where the hash rate's going to explode. Once people realize that they can actually heat their homes with Bitcoin, their homes, their businesses, everything that you can use heat for. The one thing that Bitcoin has really changed my perspective on is energy. And I never thought about that ever before. You turn the lights on, you start your stove, and you never really think about those things. You just turn them on and they work. But if you think about the energy and everything else in your macro environment there, and one example of that is in the wintertime here. Never thought of this before Bitcoin, but cook something in the oven, and then instead of just closing the oven door and trapping that heat inside there and essentially wasting that heat, leave the oven door open. And so, you're subsidizing your heating costs with energy you've already used. You're taking advantage of that heat that you've already paid for. And that's something that Bitcoin just taught me about energy. I had no idea about energy or electricity or how it all works until Bitcoin. So people are going to start heating their homes with Bitcoin, especially here in Canada and in some of the northern states in the US and Russia, China, anywhere it gets cold. Instead of just paying for heat, why not subsidize it with a Bitcoin miner? It pumps off a lot of heat. If you can convert that into heating your house, you're stupid not to, honestly. So yeah, Ben mentioned lightning enabled video poker machines. So let's get to it. Let's talk about this right now. And Crypto Ethan says, was that an arcade bar over the weekend? Just wait for lightning arcades. So let's, Kev says, with free energy, people could literally move mountains, transform the world into something unrecognizable. I agree with that. My guess is that it would bring massive wars. I'm not sure why you think it would bring massive wars. I'm not following that part of it. If you've read, and I haven't, I know Crypto Heathen's in the middle of it right now, but if you read software, and I kind of understand the thesis of it, is that we're kind of at the point now with technology where every country has access to like drones. They're the most advanced technology that we have right now, drones. And so if all countries have that, and there's no real advantage there for any country above the other. I mean, same with nukes. Everybody has nukes now. So if one country, threw out a nuke, then they would just retaliate and get it back. So they're kind of at a standstill almost in terms of the physical wars that are fought, right? We can basically just use machines now to fight each other. And it's just useless. That's kind of where we are right now. And so what countries are going to be actually fighting for is energy, for power. And they're going to be converting that power into Bitcoin. And that's how they're going to fund their countries. So we're in the very, very early days of that right now, but that's kind of where we're moving into right now. And I think that's, if I'm not mistaken, that's kind of the overall thesis of the software book, is that it's not going to be physical wars. It's going to be a war for hash power. Because we've hit the max in terms of our technology and our weapons that we use to destroy things. So let's get that off there and let's get to the top 10 coolest things in Bitcoin. I'm going to start from the top. I'm going to go 10 to 1. So here they are. This is my list. And I want you, if you're in the chat right now or listening later, one thing you can do for the show, if you've been watching the show, if you've been getting any sort of value from the show, is a couple things. Number one, very easy. You can simply just like the show, like the video you're watching. What it does, I have no idea, but it's free to do, and it's a good way to support the show. Number two is leave a comment on the show afterwards. Even if you're in the live chat, just leave a comment. It helps this get in front of more eyes. I do know that. The more comments there are, the more people this will get in front of. So 2 easy things there. The third one, though, is you could, if you want to, usually there's zap.stream where you could send in sats to the show. But in the description, you're going to find everything you need to know, including my Lightning address. So it's kinggolf@wallet-of-satoshi. If you've been getting value and you feel like giving some back, definitely welcome. And somebody yesterday sent 1,000 sats through that address, and I have no idea who it was. So thank you for that. Make sure to leave a message and say who it's from so I can give you a shout out on the show. But the third thing here is also in the description. There are some companies who have been sponsoring the show here. Grey Ridge Coffee, Juxtapose Clothing, the Wildlife Podcast, and our friend Crysler, who's in the traditional finance world, and he's helping people move from whatever they have in the existing system into Bitcoin in the traditional rails. So you can order some coffee, you can order a shirt, you can listen to the podcast, or you can get in touch with Crysler. That's one way of supporting the show. So that's kind of 4 things there that I would say. But where I was going there is if you have something that you find cool or interesting that you've come across in Bitcoin, just leave a comment afterwards. And so maybe I'll do like a follow-up to this. Maybe I'll do a bonus 10 or something, depending on how many comments we get here. But there's just so much happening in Bitcoin right now, and things are moving so fast that it's hard to keep up with everything. So this list is basically a combination between concepts, technology, platforms, different things. And I'm going to start with number 10, go down to number 1, the top 10 coolest things in Bitcoin right now. So number 10, and this is kind of a wild one, and it has to do with Lightning, but somebody out there they have a chicken coop, and they've hooked it up to the Lightning network. And every time somebody sends sats to that Lightning address, it feeds the chickens. So number 10 is basically micropayments, and it has a whole reach of things that it's going to impact in the world. But feeding chickens with sats is my number 10 there. So, and it's going to actually tie back to number 1 in a way, and you'll kind of see why. So number 9 is the vending machines. And as Crypto Heathen and as who was it here? And Letha. So we got arcade bars, we got poker machines. Think about your traditional vending machine and how clunky they are. They work pretty good with coins, but everybody stopped carrying coins. So now you have to use the debit card or a credit card, and that's costing the owners of these ATMs money because there's fees on all of that, right? Significant fees for using that software infrastructure, and just general fees every time somebody purchases a drink or plays a game on arcade. We just couldn't do this before. But with Lightning now, we have the ability to implement this into vending machines. So in real life and also AI. So there's vending machines now for AI. Think of like a vending machine. You're looking at a vending machine and you have all these options of what you want the AI to do. And so let's say you wanted to summarize something for you. Let's say you have a 60-minute video. You want it summarized by the AI. You click that. It tells you how many sats it is, and you pay with Lightning. Or you want a logo generated. You find that on your vending machine. You click that. This is obviously on computer, not in real life. But you click that. It tells you how many sats it would cost based on your prompt, based on what you want, and you pay that with Lightning. So the vending machines, both in real life and virtually using AI bots, are going to be powered by Bitcoin. And if you think about the implications of that with the AI world, if everybody's going to be using AI and the best ones are accepting Bitcoin as payment, that's just another reason why your sats are way more valuable than you think they are right now. So that's number 9, is the vending machines and how easily things are going to be implemented with Lightning. Let's go to, there we go. So number 8 here is the art in Bitcoin right now. And I'm definitely not an art connoisseur. I don't really have any art other than some Tiger Woods pictures in my house. But the one thing about Bitcoin, and this applies to art, this applies to architecture, it seems like Bitcoiners have a much longer term vision of everything here. And they're creating really good products, and people are willing to pay more for that. Instead of just like, I feel like we moved in from, 100,000 years ago, not 100,000, but 1,000 years ago. If you think about the art that came from that time era, very well done, worth a lot of money now. And we moved into a world, the fiat world, where you can go to Winners or you can go to Walmart and you can buy art for $10 or $20. And that's what people are filling their houses with, is this bullshit. A million copies of it, very high production. It's not art. It's just bullshit is what it is. And so with Bitcoin, and it's the same with houses, everything's built so cheaply now and shitty that houses are lasting a fraction of what they did 100 years ago. So we're kind of moving back into this world of long-term views, low time preference, really high quality work, and it costs a little bit more. But I want to show you this guy. His name's Madex. And like I said, I don't have any of this art. I don't have, I'd rather just keep my sats right now. But at the same time, like, okay, here's a video. 1 Bitcoin for 1 physical painting. So look at the time, the effort, everything that's going into this piece of art right here. And this just shows like kind of how Bitcoiners think, like, look at that. What's he doing with the dirt bike? Is he shooting paint at it? Or did I miss that? Anyway, so that's just, I want to show you another one here. This is for Zeus, a painting he made for Zeus. 1 of 1. And here's another one. 1 of 1 created by a 1 of 1. I think that's the video that we just watched, but that's the finished product of it. So to me, that's just so cool. And I don't have any interest in art, and it's maybe just because of the time period that I grew up in where this didn't really exist before. But like Bitcoiners and artists within Bitcoin are creating and building such amazing things. And so Madex is just one of the examples of that. He actually works for Bull Bitcoin as well. He's their creative designer for Bull Bitcoin here in Canada. So I want to give him a shout out, and I want to just, that's number 8, is the art within Bitcoin and the longevity of art and infrastructure and architecture that's going to come from Bitcoin. Number 7 is Wavelake / Zap.stream. And I know we had some issues with Zap.stream today, but like I said, in the 2 months or whatever, how long I've been using it, it's been awesome. And so we have now technologies like Wavelake, like Zap.stream, who are much more in favor of the creators. And Wavelake is basically the Bitcoin alternative to Spotify. Zap.stream is basically the Bitcoin alternative to YouTube. And so if you look at Spotify and you look at YouTube and how shitty they treat their creators on there compared to a value for value type thing like Wavelake and Zap.stream, there's just so many barriers and hoops and bullshit to jump through if you actually want to get paid from Spotify or YouTube. Whereas with Wavelake, if you uploaded a song today and people liked it, they could start sending you Bitcoin through Lightning, through Zaps. And Zap.stream as well. You don't have to get 1,000 subscribers. You don't have to get 4,000 viewing hours watched. All you have to do is set up a channel. And if people like what you're talking about, they can send you Bitcoin instantly using those 2 platforms. So that's number 7, Wavelake and Zap.stream. Number 6 isn't a product or anything, but it's the opportunity in Bitcoin right now. we've talked about it several times already today on the show, but the opportunity in Bitcoin right now is endless. And if you're somebody out there who's willing to put in some time and energy into building something in Bitcoin, the rewards you're going to see from that after 2, 5, 10 years, if you're starting right now, is going to be incredible. And I think that people really put too much emphasis on daily, weekly, even annually. But if you think about 4 years at a time, if you think back 4 years ago, where you were 4 years ago and how much things have changed since then, if you take a really long time horizon on this and you acknowledge how much opportunity there is in Bitcoin right now, and you start taking that seriously, in, like I said, 2, 5, 10 years from now, it's going to pay significant dividends. Because Bitcoin right now is a very small and niche industry. There's about 1% of people who actually own Bitcoin. And as we move from a niche industry into the mainstream, everybody associated with that, whether you own Bitcoin, whether you're earning Bitcoin, whether you have a business in Bitcoin, everybody is going to ride that wave together. Every time somebody downloads a wallet, every time somebody spins up a new YouTube channel or a zap.stream channel, it's increasing the value of Bitcoin. And that's not going to stop. And so you want to get in on this as early as you can. Think of it like the gold rush. And, you know, I've heard a lot of really good analogies to the gold rush, and think about the people who made money in the gold rush. It was the people selling the shovels. And Bitcoin Ben talks about this all the time, but that's kind of how I like to think about this is, you know, if you're not the one mining the gold or mine the Bitcoin, be the one that's making the shovels to dig the gold. Right? So that's the opportunity. Number 6. Number 5 is the agility of Bitcoin. And a perfect example of this is last week we were very depressed on the show. There was the Samurai wallet. The guys from there got arrested. They shut down the wallet. That was a mixing service that basically makes your Bitcoin no longer attached to you. So they got arrested. It was shut down. There's a bunch of panic within the Bitcoin world. Everybody was depressed. And then this week already, there's been progression there, I guess you'd say. And somebody has already created a way to do the exact same service, the mixing service, but without a centralized point there. So Samurai was the centralized point there, but somebody has already built a similar system without the centralized party there. And I forget what it's called. I'm going to bring it up quickly if you have some time. I didn't have time to check it out this morning in depth, but what's it called? I think it's called Emboss. Emboss? Yes. No. Embassy. So it says MSB. MSB. Should have had a better name. Construct CoinJoin transactions without a central coordinator. So they're testing it out right now. They're in the early stages of it. They're making sure that everything runs properly. And then they're going to start updating it against attacks and testing it that way. So the agility within Bitcoin is that happened in 1 week. Samurai wallet was shut down. And within 1 week, this MSB CoinJoin was created. So the agility here, everybody's kind of working on their own, but everybody's working and building together. And if you think about it, if you compare that to our legacy, the world that we're used to living in there, if you want to make any sort of changes in the company, in government, you have to jump through 1,000 hoops. You have to approve it from this person, this board, the shareholders. You have to go through months of trying it out and testing it. You have to create a whole branch within your company to focus on that. With Bitcoin, like I said, everybody's working alone, but everybody's working together. So it's a very agile system. And every time Bitcoin gets attacked, within a week or a month, there's a way around for it, and people build a way around for it. So it's very agile. And I think that that's going to be very important as we move into the next phase here of government clampdowns, is being able to be agile and just find solutions to things that didn't exist before. So that's number 5, the agility of Bitcoin. Number 4 is Fountain. Fountain's a competitor to Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So it has all your favorite podcasts on there. You can go on there, you can create an account, and you can instantly that day start earning Bitcoin. So Fountain's kind of the example that I wanted to use there, but also think about Fold, think about Lolly, think about ShakePay, think about Club Solitaire or Club Bitcoin, whatever it is, where you can earn sats. Those are things that you can be doing right now with hardly any work. You just turn on a podcast and you start streaming sats. And if you believe in what I'm talking about here in terms of how valuable sats are going to be in the future, it's an absolute no-brainer. And these things won't be around for very much longer. 10 years ago, you could have went onto a website, Bitcoin Faucet, and if you put in your wallet address, they would send you 1 Bitcoin. That was 10 years ago. You log into a website, you enter your Bitcoin address, and they send you 1 Bitcoin. And if you think about where we're going now, if you think that that trend is going to change or slow down, it's going to ramp up. And so think about today. If you're earning 100 sats on Fountain today, just by listening to a podcast, we're going to look back in 10 years from now in the same disbelief that I just shared with the Bitcoin Faucet there above Fountain. So I do believe that people should be rewarded for listening to these things. Your data, your attention has value, and Fountain has recognized that. So they're sending out micropayments in the form of sats just for listening to podcasts. So make sure that if you haven't yet, I highly encourage you. I'm going to put this in my little actionable items here, but check out the Fountain app and get going on that while you still can. Okay, I missed a few comments here. Lightning goats. This must be the same thing as the feeding chickens with sats, lightning goats. AD says if drone wars pop off, it'll be a resource war. Whoever makes the most drones wins. Yes, broken window theory on steroids. It would just be a disaster, and nobody wants that. I mean, the show wasn't supposed to be this long today because I'm doing a golf show after, but if you think about, I like the broken window theory there and kind of the long-term view of that, it would just get to a point where everybody would just be dead, right? If every country has drones and whoever makes the most drones and sends them out there and they just destroy everybody and everything, what's the point of everything then? Because even if you think that the controllers of the world, the central bankers, whoever is in control of the money, controls the world. And so if they have the ability to print money, to make drones, to fight each other, to kill people, unless they move planets, what were they going to have left here for them? They rely on the peons, the serfs, the plebs like us to do their bidding, right? And so one of my main theories here is that whole thing is going to flip on its head slowly. So we're going to move from that centralized system of people controlling the money, controlling the world. That whole system is going to flip on its head with Bitcoin. And it's going to happen over a long period, but it is going to happen. Daniel says, what was number 6? That was opportunity. So far we've had feeding chickens with sats, vending in real life and AI, the artists and the long-term view, infrastructure, architecture. 7 was Wavelake and Zap.stream. 6, opportunity. 5, agility. 4, free sats like Fountain and other apps. And number 3 is the community. And I wish I would have saved more time for these last 3 because they are the most important. But the Bitcoin community is absolutely second to none. And this ties in, maybe I'll do 2 and 3 together. 2 and 3 are community and nostr. And people get into Bitcoin for the number go up, the NGU, the phrase I learned last week. But they stay for the community and they stay for the technology. But the community itself is, like I said, everybody's working together on things. It's a very different dynamic than the fiat world where everybody's in a rat race. Everybody's fighting against each other to climb the ladder. Everybody's backstabbing each other. In the Bitcoin community, everybody's working together. Everybody's pushing their boundaries, pushing their limits for a common goal of bringing Bitcoin to the world, to making Bitcoin the standard for the world and getting back to a world where things are fair and actually pegged to something that's fixed. So everybody's working together. And when you have a community that's working together, it's a very different dynamic than what we're used to. And nostr is a big part of that. I think that a lot of people are still sleeping on nostr, even though I talk about it every day on the show. I think that there's still people out there who hear the word nostr and they're immediately turned off because it's unfamiliar to them. But if you get onto nostr and you start looking into the Bitcoin community and interacting and asking questions and helping people, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And nostr is kind of the gateway to that. And even with our living in the future community that we have going there, I've been blown away with how much people are willing to help, people are willing to share, and how many good ideas that people have and how knowledgeable people are. And so that's just a very micro community within this whole scope of things. But we're going to build some really cool things in that group because everybody's working together. Everybody wants to help each other. And everybody's taking a very long-term view of what that looks like. So that's 2 and 3. And the last one here, number 1, coolest thing about Bitcoin, coolest thing in Bitcoin is the freedom. It's permissionless. It's unconfiscatable. And those 2 things alone are key to unlocking an abundant future. Permissionless and unconfiscatable. So let me, instead of explaining what that all means, let me actually walk you through a scenario here. And this is how I'm going to end the show today. So that's a lie. I got some actionable items here. But this is how I'll end this segment. Think about this journey here. You set up a nostr account. You get on there. And you either start posting things that you find valuable, that other people find valuable, or you start contracting work through nostr. And so all of a sudden you have this wallet. You have Wallet Satoshi on your phone. You could download that without anybody's permission. Nobody knows it's connected to you. You download this app and you start earning sats on nostr. So you're helping people, or you're working for people, or you're just putting out good posts, good information, and people are sending you Bitcoin in return for that. So all of a sudden you build up this little balance, and let's say you get 100,000 sats over a couple months. And that continues because you built a presence on there. You have a community growing, and people will, if you're adding value, people are going to send value back. So that whole process there of getting a wallet, of earning sats, and then all of a sudden you can start spending those sats on your life. So there's different countries where this is much more prevalent, obviously. But think about what you can buy with Bitcoin now. And so that whole process there of working, instead of going through the traditional rails of like signing up for an account, putting in your driver's license, putting in all your information, that Bitcoin's tied to you forever. This other option of actually earning sats and being able to use those sats, whether that's buying gift cards on something like Bitrefill, paying for gas with that, there is a full route here, a full path to sovereignty. And I really don't think that enough people are talking about that path. Everybody's so focused on the price going up. Everybody's so focused on converting their fiat into Bitcoin, which is good, obviously. Think of that as like your savings though. You should be positioning yourself today to start earning sats. Because once you start earning sats that are not attached to you, let's say that you did a job for somebody in Texas. They send you sats. You never put your name into anything. You have those sats now, and you can use those sats to spend on a t-shirt, honey, beef. You can buy gift cards with it on Bitrefill without putting in your information. You can buy things on Amazon with that. You can buy gas with that. You can buy groceries. So all of a sudden you start earning this currency that nobody knows that you have. And the implications of that alone, I think, are extremely powerful because we're not going to fight the government. We're not going to go to war with our government. We need to find a sly and roundabout way to go around that system. And like I said, I think that too many people are focused on the price of converting fiat into Bitcoin instead of finding ways to earn Bitcoin and just going around that whole system, because there's structures in place now, there's systems in place that allow for that. And so here's another thing, and this is why I wanted to tie it back to the feeding chickens. So let's say that there's a farmer in your area and he has all these chickens. He implements something similar into his chicken coop. And all of a sudden he has like 30 customers in the area. Every week they send him 10,000 sats to pay for the feed for the chickens. And then every week, if they pay their sats, they come pick up eggs. So you're earning sats. You're somebody within your local community is producing chickens and eggs. You're earning sats, you're spending those sats, you're getting food for it, and nobody knows that that's happening there. That full circle there, that economy is happening without anybody else knowing about it. So the implications of that, nobody else knowing about it, are very deep. So there you go. I think that there'll be many things like that. Feeding chickens is just kind of one example, and kind of a silly example to start with. But I do think that there's going to be economies and networks and communities that start forming that specifically run on Bitcoin. And that's the freedom aspect of it. So that's the top 10 list there. Shipcoin magazine lowered their reward for reading articles from 5 sats to 1. And probably in 5 years, they'll lower it from 1 sat to 100 microsats. It's just going to keep happening as we move forward here, as we move along. We're going to keep moving the decimal places. The sats are going to become more valuable, and the rewards are going to not dry up, but they're just going to be not the same as they are right now. It's the same as like if you were to buy Bitcoin in 10 years from now, you're going to be able to, but you're just going to get a whole lot less of it as compared to today. So that's my list. Top 10 things, coolest things about Bitcoin right now. Some actionable things that I would give to you, because this show is focused on actionable advice. But kind of the main thing here is start taking advantage of Fountain, start taking advantage of other free rewards. If you value sats like I do, it's an absolute no-brainer to be doing this kind of stuff. So that's the first one. That's the easiest one. The second one is nostr. And nostr kind of ties in with all of these things here in a way. But I really want you to, if you haven't yet, make this your priority for May. Get onto nostr, set up an account. All you have to do is, it says sign up. It provides you with a public and a private key pair. And just get on there and start interacting with people. You can look at my followers list and you can just start following people on there. Very easy way to start. And it's different than the traditional social media platforms because there's no algorithms. So what you're going to have to do is actually follow people, start interacting with people, and kind of find people on your own. But don't just sign up. Really make this a priority. Cut out Twitter, cut out Instagram, cut out TikTok for the month, and just focus on nostr. And don't get too far ahead of yourself. Don't get impatient. Everything takes time, including nostr. But the best time to start was a year ago. The second best time to start is today. So get yourself an account. You can find my Alvio says nickname. You can use Primal to find nicknames on there. It's Jor. But if you want to just copy and paste my public key, it's in the description below here. So there you go. Get onto nostr, find me on there. You can check out my followers or the people I'm following, and just start following a bunch of people on there. Start interacting, do it a couple times a day for a month, and just see what happens. Because nostr is basically the new version of the internet, the decentralized internet, and it's going to have an impact on all of these things. The freedom, the community, apps like Fountain, the opportunity, Wave Lake's on there, Zap Streams connected to nostr, Matex is on there, the artist, vending machines. It's how you find everything. And once you realize how powerful the Bitcoin community is and how much you can get from it and give to it, you're going to change the way you do everything, I think, online. And that started for me. I hardly use anything other than nostr now because I just don't want to. Why would I spend my time on, toxic places instead of happy places? So there you go. That is today's show. Way longer than I thought it was going to be. I need to cut down on my news here, I think, a little bit. So what we're going to do now is we're going to try out Zap.stream. I'm going to move over there. I'm going to be doing the second episode of our new golf show called Touch Grass. And it kind of ties into, it's more of like a lifestyle thing than a golf thing, but it's really focused on the mindset of golf, which golf is a microcosm of life. And so if you have some time this morning, consider checking it out. I do anticipate things to be fairly slow on Zap.stream for the first little while until we can get some traction there. But I would appreciate if you join us over there. And like I said, I talk about this stuff all the time, and I think it's important to actually do what you're talking about. And so this show is going to be exclusively on zap.stream, because I really want to bring people over there. I want to push the adoption of zap.stream. And if there's a way to do that, if this is a way that can possibly do that, then I'm going to try it. So with that, just head over to zap.stream, and it should be on the homepage probably in the next couple minutes here. I got to reset things and try to get zap.stream running, but in a couple minutes, check that out. It's called Touch Grass. Focus on, just enjoying yourself out there, changing your mindset about it, and becoming better golfers. I think my tagline there is practical and enjoyable ways to play better golf. So with that, I appreciate everybody being here. Hopefully zap.stream is going to be working today. Like I said, if you'd like to support the show, check out the description. There's many ways you can do it in there, including ordering from the people who have been sponsoring the show. You get 25% off of Grey Ridge Coffee. There's 10% off of Eric's Juxtapose store, which is going to have some King Golf stuff soon. The Wildlife Podcast, and of course, our buddy Crysler, who's helping Bitcoiners. He's a financial advisor who is embracing Bitcoin and helping people the bridge from the old system into the new system. So I appreciate you all very much for the chats, for showing up every day. And we're going to keep doing it because it's important. So have yourselves a great day, a great hump day. Maybe get in a hump. And we'll see you right back here first thing tomorrow or on the golf show in 5 minutes from now. Bye-bye.